The dust rose with the wind, carrying the sour smell of decay. For 10-year-old Dandara, it was the scent of home. Her bare feet knew every inch of that uneven ground, covered in a mountain of debris that the city spat out daily. She had no father, no mother, no siblings. Her only family was the landfill, a monster of metal, plastic, and organic matter that had swallowed her since birth. Dandara was a nimble shadow among the vultures and the other scavengers. Her eyes, large and curious, scrutinized the trash with a focus that went beyond the search for food or recyclables. She searched for treasures, for fragments of a world she didn't know, and on a particularly hot afternoon, she found it. A hardcover notebook with a few blank pages and a nearly intact pencil. To anyone else, it would have been trash. To Dandara, it was the promise of an entire universe. 5 years passed. Dandara, now a 15-year-old teenager, guarded her treasure with her life. Her notebook and pencil were her companions on lonely nights in her makeshift shack. She spent hours trying to decipher the symbols she saw in magazines and old packaging. The desire to learn to read and write was a flame that burned in her chest, a stubbornness that kept her alive. One day, while trying to copy the letters from a soda label, an older collector known as Mr. Zay approached. He watched the girl's concentration for a while, a tender smile forming on her wrinkled face. "That's an A," he said, pointing to the letter on the paper. From that day on, Mr. Zay became Dandara's teacher. At the end of each workday, he taught her how to put letters together, how to form words, how to unlock the secrets of writing. The flame of hope, once a spark, was now a bonfire. At 18, Dandara was already a woman. Reading had transformed her. The books, which she now devoured avidly, showed her that there was a world beyond the mountains of trash, a world of opportunities, of dreams realized, and she wanted to be a part of it. The news arrived like a whisper, spreading through the dump. A factory in the city was hiring. Dandara felt her heart race. This was her chance. But how? She had no proper clothes, no documents, nothing. The dump community, however, rallied. A neighbor gave her an old dress. Another lent her a pair of worn-out shoes. Mr. Zay, with his savings, helped her get her ID card. With a heart full of fear and hope, Dandara left the dump for the first time in her life, walking toward the unknown. The city was a whirlwind of sounds and colors Dandara had never imagined. The air, though still polluted, lacked the pungent smell of the landfill. Buildings scraped the sky, and people hurried along, their eyes rarely meeting. The interview at the factory was an ordeal of questions and suspicious glances, but Dandara's determination, her thirst for learning, and her physical strength, honed from daily handling of garbage, earned her a job on the production line. The first month was a challenge. The work was exhausting, and prejudice was a constant shadow. Co-workers whispered about her origins, and some treated her with disdain. But Dandara didn't let herself be discouraged. Every sideways look, every malicious word, only reinforced her desire to prove herself. With her first paycheck, she did what she had promised herself. She enrolled in a nighttime supplementary course. The nights, previously filled with tiredness, were now dedicated to studying, to absorbing each new piece of information like a thirsty sponge. The following years were grueling but rewarding. Dandara worked at the factory during the day and studied at night, often sleeping only a few hours. Her dedication was remarkable. At work, she stood out for her efficiency and proactivity, always seeking to learn new skills. In her studies, her intelligence and persistence placed her among the top students. Her professors, impressed by her story and performance, encouraged her to strive further. Thus, in her early 20s, Dandara secured a full scholarship to study business administration at a renowned university. The news was a turning point. She left the factory, but the discipline and resilience she learned there stayed with her. In college, she immersed herself in books, discussions, and projects. Prejudice still existed, but now she had the tools and confidence to confront it. The girl from the dump was transforming into a woman of knowledge, with a clear vision of her future and a burning desire to make a difference. Dandara graduated with honors from business administration. Her final project was an audacious project, an innovative business model for solid waste management, focusing on social inclusion and sustainability. The idea was to transform waste into wealth, not just material wealth, but social wealth, creating a virtuous cycle of recycling and income generation for marginalized communities. The project, initially met with skepticism, caught the attention of investors seeking initiatives with real social impact. With financial support and her unwavering vision, Dandara founded Renova Brazil, a recycling company that went far beyond collecting and processing materials. She implemented professional training programs for waste pickers, offering them fair wages, benefits, and, above all, dignity. Renova Brazil grew exponentially, expanding its operations to several cities and becoming a success story in the sector. Dandara, the girl who once collected trash, was now the CEO of a company transforming lives and the environment. The story of Dandara and Renova Brazil echoed throughout the country, from features in major newspapers to interviews on television programs. She became a symbol of resilience, and social entrepreneurship. Her fame was not only due to her financial success, but also to the message of hope she carried. Dandara, the black woman who came from the landfill, proved that talent and determination can flourish in the most arid soils. On a sunny day, Dandara returned to Liceo de Esperança, no longer as a barefoot, hungry girl, but as an elegant and powerful woman, accompanied by a team of engineers and social workers. SCU Zay, now elderly and in fragile health, welcomed her with tears in his eyes. Renova Brazil was there to build a modern sorting center, schools, and decent housing for the community. The landfill, once a cradle of poverty, was beginning to transform into a cradle of opportunity. Implementing the project, however, was not without its challenges. There was initial resistance from some residents accustomed to the old routine, and the bureaucracy involved in obtaining permits and government support posed a hurdle. But Dandara's persistence, her ability to communicate, and her clear vision for the future overcame each obstacle, solidifying the social impact of her company and her journey. Renova Brazil was no longer just a company. It was a movement. Its business model, which integrated environmental sustainability with social inclusion, was replicated in several cities, becoming a case study at universities and an example for other initiatives. Dandara, the visionary CEO, transcended the role of businesswoman to become an influential voice in debates on sustainable development, social justice, and women's empowerment. She was invited to speak at international forums, appear on television shows, and grace the covers of magazines, always delivering the same message: transformation is possible even in the most adverse conditions. But Dandara's true legacy wasn't in the awards or the headlines. It was in the lives she touched. In a moving ceremony, she launched the Dandara Foundation, dedicated to providing quality education and opportunities for vulnerable children and young people, especially those who, like her, grew up in marginalized communities. The foundation funded schools, scholarships, and mentoring programs, ensuring the next generation had the tools to build their own dreams. Dandara, the girl from the dump, not only changed her own story, but rewrote the future of thousands, proving that hope, when fueled by determination, can flourish and spread, leaving an eternal legacy of inspiration and change.